The day my family learned who really owns the restaurant. The text message arrived on a gray Tuesday morning, just 48 hours before Thanksgiving. I was sitting in my office at Sterling Hospitality Group, reviewing the holiday schedules for all 7 of my restaurants, when my phone buzzed. Brenda, we've decided to keep Thanksgiving intimate this year, immediate family only. You'll need to make other arrangements. The reservation at Giovanni's is just for the real family. Mom. I stared at the screen, reading those words over and over. Real family. The phrase hit me like a physical blow. After everything I'd sacrificed, after missing countless family gatherings to build my business empire, after working every holiday for the past 8 years, this was how they saw me. Not real family. But then something clicked. Giovanni's. I knew that name. My fingers flew across my keyboard as I pulled up our reservation system. There it was, Thompson Party of 14, Thursday 4 p.m., private dining room. Premium Thanksgiving experience, wine pairings, custom floral arrangements, the works. Nearly $4,000 for what my mother called a real family celebration. The irony was so perfect it took my breath away. My own family had excluded me from Thanksgiving dinner, then booked their celebration at my restaurant. You see, what my family didn't know was that their disappointing daughter Brenda, the one who dropped out of medical school to start a food truck, the one who worked weekends instead of attending family barbecues, the one who was 32 and single with no real career, owned Giovanni's. And 6 other restaurants. And 2 catering companies. And employed over 300 people across the city. Sterling Hospitality Group was my empire, built from nothing but determination and 18-hour days. But to my family, I was still just Brenda who played around with food trucks. I called my general manager at Giovanni's immediately. Good morning, Miss Sterling. Everything ready for our biggest day of the year. James, I need to discuss the Thompson reservation for Thursday. Of course. Party of 14, private dining room. Mrs. Thompson was very specific about wanting everything perfect. Said it was going to be a flawless family celebration. Flawless. Without me, apparently. I need you to cancel that reservation. The silence on the other end stretched for what felt like an eternity. Cancel it. Miss Sterling, it's Tuesday. Thanksgiving is in 2 days. This is a $4,000 booking. The food's been ordered, the room is prepared, staff is assigned. James, I'll cover any costs we can't recover. But I want the Thompson reservation cancelled immediately. May I ask why? Is there an issue with payment or? It's personal. Please call Mrs. Thompson and inform her that Giovanni's can no longer accommodate their party. Miss Sterling, finding a table for 14 people on Thanksgiving Day, it's going to be nearly impossible for them. I'm sure they'll manage. After hanging up, I walked to the floor-to-ceiling windows of my corner office, looking down at the bustling preparation in Giovanni's main dining room. My staff worked efficiently, preparing for one of our most profitable days. The restaurant that would gross over $40,000 tomorrow alone, the restaurant my mother had chosen to impress her family, was mine. And they had no idea. My phone started buzzing within the hour. First came the panicked call from Mom. Brenda. Something terrible has happened. What's wrong, Mom? Giovanni's canceled our Thanksgiving reservation. 2 days before Thanksgiving. They said something about a scheduling conflict, but I know they just want to give our table to someone willing to pay more. This is a disaster. I almost laughed at the irony. That does sound stressful. Brenda, you work in restaurants. Do you know anyone who might have last-minute availability? Somewhere nice. We have your Uncle Scott flying in from Denver, Cousin Linda driving from Phoenix. Everyone's coming for this dinner. The woman who had just told me I wasn't real family was now asking for my help. The universe had a twisted sense of humor. What kind of place were you looking for, Mom? Something elegant. Impressive. You know how Uncle Scott is, always bragging about Andrew's medical practice and Joan's law firm. We wanted to show everyone how successful our family is. Our successful family. The family I apparently wasn't really part of. I might know some people in the industry. What made you choose Giovanni's originally? It's that high-end Italian place downtown. Very exclusive, very expensive. We were so excited to tell everyone we were dining there. It would have been perfect. Perfect. Without me. Mom, can I ask you something? Of course, sweetheart. When you said the reservation was for real family, what exactly did you mean by that? There was a long pause. Brenda, we thought you'd be too busy with work to enjoy a proper family dinner. You always work holidays. I work holidays because restaurants are busiest on holidays, Mom. That's how the business works. I know, honey, but Uncle Scott is always asking about everyone's careers, and, well. And what? And it's easier when everyone has traditional success stories to share. Traditional success stories. Like my brother Michael's accounting firm, or my sister Sarah's nursing career. Not like whatever they thought I was doing with food trucks. So I'm not successful enough for Uncle Scott. Brenda, that's not. It's just that your path is so different. And Scott's kids are doctors and lawyers, and we thought. You thought what, Mom? We thought it might be awkward. Awkward to have your own daughter at family dinner. Brenda, you're being dramatic. Am I? Mom, what do you think I do for work? You have that food truck business. You work in restaurants. I don't really understand it, but. Have you ever asked me to explain it? Brenda, why are these questions important right now? I need help finding a restaurant. I took a deep breath. I'll see what I can do. Let me make some calls. 30 minutes later, James called back. Miss Sterling, Mrs. Thompson has called 4 times. She's getting increasingly desperate. She asked if we knew any comparable restaurants with availability. What did you tell her? That most upscale places book Thanksgiving months in advance, but I gave her a list to try. Miss Sterling, she started crying on the phone. Said this was supposed to be perfect and now it's ruined. Despite everything, I felt a pang of something, not quite sympathy, but recognition. Mom wasn't evil, just shallow and status-obsessed. She'd made a cruel decision about excluding me, but she was genuinely distressed about the consequences. James, what would you think about offering them a compromise? What kind of compromise? They can have their reservation back. But the party size increases to 15. 15. Who's the additional guest? Me. Miss Sterling, are you sure about this? After they uninvited you. James, I think it's time my family learned something about the restaurant business. What's that? That success comes in many forms. And sometimes the family disappointment is actually the most successful person at the table. I called Mom back. She answered on the first ring. Brenda. Please tell me you found something. I have good news and bad news. Tell me. The good news is I might be able to get your Giovanni's reservation back. Really? Oh, Brenda, you're a miracle worker. How? I know someone with influence at the restaurant. You're amazing. What's the bad news? The bad news is the reservation comes with a condition. What condition? The party size has to be 15 instead of 14. 15. Who would be the extra person? Me, Mom. Silence. Brenda. The person who can get your reservation back wants me included in the dinner. Who? Who do you know at Giovanni's? I know the owner. You know the owner. Brenda, how do you know the owner of such an upscale restaurant? That's a really good question, Mom. How do you think I know the owner? Through your food truck business. In a way, yes. Brenda, what aren't you telling me? I took a deep breath. This was it. The moment of truth. Mom, what if I told you that my food truck business grew into something much bigger? How much bigger? What if I told you that I own 7 restaurants now? 7 restaurants. 7 restaurants, 2 catering companies, and over 300 employees. The silence was deafening. Brenda, are you serious? Dead serious, Mom. Sterling Hospitality Group. That's my company. Sterling, but that's my last name, yes. Brenda, are you telling me you're successful? Like, really successful? Mom, Sterling Hospitality Group grossed $18 million last year. 18 million. Million. With an M. Oh my God. Brenda. Sterling Hospitality Group owns Giovanni's. Among other establishments, yes. Another silence, longer this time. Brenda, are you saying you own the restaurant where we made our reservation? I'm saying I own the restaurant where you made your reservation to celebrate with a real family only. I could hear her sharp intake of breath. I own the restaurant you chose to impress Uncle Scott with how successful our family is, while excluding the most successful member of that family. Oh God, Brenda, I own the restaurant you called me crying about, asking me to help find a replacement because you needed somewhere impressive for your perfect family celebration that I wasn't invited to. Brenda, I had no idea. Of course you didn't, Mom. Because in 8 years, you've never once asked what my business actually involves. I thought you were struggling. I thought the food truck thing was just. I thought you were barely getting by. And that embarrassed you. Yes, she whispered. So your embarrassment was based on my perceived lack of success, not my character as a person. Brenda, I was wrong. Completely wrong. About what specifically? About everything. About your career, about your success, about excluding you. And what changed your mind, Mom? My character. My worth as a human being. Your love for your daughter. No, she said quietly. Finding out how successful you are. So if I hadn't been successful, it would have been okay to exclude me. That's not what I mean. What do you mean? I mean, I should have been proud of you regardless. Should have been. Past tense. I am proud of you, Brenda. Incredibly proud. Are you proud of me, or proud of my net worth? Mom started crying then. Real tears, not the frustrated tears from earlier. Brenda, I'm proud of you for building something incredible from nothing. But I'm ashamed of myself for not seeing it sooner. For making assumptions. For thinking success only looked one way. Why didn't you see it sooner, Mom? Because I was stupid. Because I thought if your path looked different, you must be failing. And now I realize you're the most successful person in our entire family, and I almost excluded you from our celebration. The raw honesty in her voice caught me off guard. This wasn't the shallow woman who'd sent that text message. This was my mother, finally seeing clearly. Mom, here's what's going to happen. Okay. You're getting your Giovanni's reservation back. Full party of 15, including me. Thank you, Brenda. Thank you so much. But there are conditions. Anything. First, when Uncle Scott asks about my career, you're going to tell him I own 7 restaurants and run an $18 million company. I will. Second, you're going to tell him you're proud of me for building something from absolutely nothing. I am proud of you. Third, you're never going to exclude me from family events again because you're embarrassed by my unconventional path. Never, Brenda. I promise. And fourth, you're going to start asking questions about my work because you're interested in my life, not because you want ammunition for bragging rights. I will. I want to understand what you've built. Good. Because your daughter who plays around with food trucks actually employs more people than Michael and Sarah combined. Thanksgiving Day arrived, and the dinner at Giovanni's was everything Mom had envisioned. The private dining room was spectacular, the food was exceptional, and Uncle Scott was properly impressed. But the best part was watching Mom introduce me to the extended family. This is Brenda, my youngest. She owns Sterling Hospitality Group. They own this restaurant and 6 others. She built the entire company from a single food truck 8 years ago. I couldn't be more proud of her. Uncle Scott looked genuinely impressed. Brenda, that's quite an accomplishment. Your parents must have been supportive of your entrepreneurial vision from the beginning. I glanced at Mom, who had the grace to look embarrassed. Actually, Uncle Scott, my family didn't quite understand what I was building until very recently. They thought I was just playing around with food. Well, clearly you were doing much more than playing around. Building a restaurant empire from scratch, that takes real vision and determination. It does. But it took my family a while to see it that way. Mom squeezed my hand under the table. During dessert, she pulled me aside. Brenda, can I ask you something? Sure. Why did you give me back the reservation? After everything I said, after excluding you, why did you help me? I smiled. Because despite everything, you're my mother and I love you. Even though I called your career embarrassing. Mom, you called my career embarrassing because you didn't understand it. That's ignorance, not malice. There's a difference. I feel like I don't know you at all. You don't, Mom. But now you have the chance to really get to know me. I want to. Will you teach me about the restaurant business? I'd love to. 6 months later, Mom had become one of my biggest supporters. She started volunteering at our annual charity dinner for underprivileged families. She learned about profit margins, supply chains, staff management, and the incredible complexity of running multiple restaurant locations. But most importantly, she learned to appreciate her daughter for who she was, not just what she'd accomplished. The Thanksgiving dinner at Giovanni's became family legend. Not just because of the exceptional food, but because it was the day Mom discovered that her struggling daughter was actually the most successful person at the table. And I learned something too. Sometimes the best way to teach people your worth isn't to argue or plead or demand recognition. Sometimes you have to give them exactly what they think they want and let them discover what they actually need. The restaurant business taught me countless lessons about service, quality, and customer satisfaction. But my family taught me the most important lesson of all, that real success isn't just about building wealth or achieving recognition. It's about being valued for who you are, not just what you've accomplished. Mom still tells everyone about that Thanksgiving dinner at Giovanni's. But now she doesn't just brag about dining at an exclusive restaurant. She brags about the fact that her daughter owns it. And more importantly, she talks about how she almost missed out on celebrating with the most accomplished member of the family. Success isn't just about building a business empire or proving doubters wrong. Sometimes it's about giving the people you love the chance to see you clearly and become better family members than they've been before. That reservation at Giovanni's became more than just a Thanksgiving dinner. It became the moment my family learned that success comes in many forms, and love means celebrating each other's achievements instead of being threatened by them. The text message that started it all is still on my phone. Sometimes I read it when I need motivation, a reminder of how far we've all come. Real family isn't about excluding people who don't fit your narrow definition of success. Real family means making room at the table for everyone, especially those who've worked the hardest to earn their place there. And every Thanksgiving since, when I look around that table at Giovanni's, at my restaurant, filled with my family, all of us together, I'm reminded that the sweetest victories aren't about revenge. They're about transformation, understanding, and second chances. Because in the end, the most successful thing I ever did wasn't building a restaurant empire. It was teaching my family to love me for exactly who I am.